Hello, everyone. Father Bob Gross. It's Monday evening. Um, I said I was going to get my homily up, but it just didn't happen. So, getting up the homily from this last weekend tonight before I go to bed. We celebrated the new liturgical year. It is the season of Advent now. We started with the first Sunday, obviously. And here's what I shared with everyone at Masses this last weekend. So recently, I was visiting the classrooms over at DeSales School. I'm going to be visiting the classrooms this week over at CFS. And I thought about what could I talk with the kids about? And the thing that came to mind is going over the basic prayers that we learned as Catholics. And I wanted to ask them, do they know what they are praying when they pray the Our Father? So we went through all the phrases of the Our Father, and I asked them in small groups and then in the general group, what do you mean when you say these words? And one interesting phrase was, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. I asked the students, well, do you know what that actually means? And they said, well, it means it's going to get done. Thy will be done. It's going to get done. And I said, who's going to get it done? Is it God going to get it done? You're going to get it done? Is it God's will that's going to be done, or your will? And they said, well, I'm going to get it done. It's going to get done. And what emerged out of that is that, do we really understand the words that we use? And we had a wonderful conversation about what does it mean to say, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. We should never really assume that we know completely, that there's always something more to understand about that. I think that's a way to think about one word that captures the season of Advent, and that is the word Emmanuel. Emmanuel. And that word means God is with us. O come, Emmanuel, and ransom captive Israel, that mourns in lonely exile here, until the Son of God appear. Rejoice, rejoice, Emmanuel shall come to thee, O Israel. So what that means is God is with us. And one question that is worth the whole season of Advent is if you would ask Jesus this one question in your prayer, and that is, how are you with me, Lord? How are you with me? How are you in my life? And not come up with your own answers, but allow Jesus to reveal that answer in the silence of prayer. Because I find it very profound that God wants to be with us. He wants to intervene and come into our lives and actually make them more beautiful and more full of joy and more full of meaning. You know, not everybody understands God that way. We take it for granted as Christians, but it's the celebration of God coming among us, the preparation of that at the Feast of Christmas, God becoming one of us. An example of that, of people not agreeing with us, is Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson was a deist. He believed that God got the world started. He set the world, he created the world with intelligence and design. But once God got the world going, he quit having any interest in the world. That's why he held one of the Enlightenment tenets of no miracles. So when he edited the Bible, he took out all of the miracle stories, believing that God would not intervene in his creation. But we do. We believe that God is with us. I find that point profound because there's a recent study that came out that shows that more and more adult Americans are experiencing loneliness at a degree that had not been seen in years past. And the age group that experiences the most loneliness are those from 18 years of age to 25 years of age. And they see a direct correlation with loneliness with the rise of social media. That people who use social media regularly and often are people that actually experience more loneliness than people who don't. Isn't that interesting? The very thing that's supposed to bring people together, that has been a revolution in connecting people, is also the very thing that keeps us apart from one another, where people only want to encounter others through screens. Or there's the comparison game that happens. Or there is, I wish my life was better than what it is, by looking at all the screens and the insights of all the people that I follow on social media. But let me ask you this question. Do you ever put up on your Facebook page or your Twitter feed those things which are difficult and are ugly in your life? And the answer is no. We never put up those things that are ugly. We only put in those things that are beautiful and good and that we're proud of. And it doesn't quite give the full picture of how our lives are really going. There are so many people that are alone, that feel unconnected. I think about in the town of Kelmer, how many homes where there's only one person living in that place? Like, I'm one of them. I'm the only one that lives in this rectory. And the taxing effect, if we do not remember that we are actually never alone. And that's the good news of Advent, the good news of the Christmas season that we are entering into on December 25th, is that one of the greatest lies that the evil one ever gives us is that we are alone. But the thing that God says in response to that lie, which is the truth, is you are never alone. So one way to observe Advent is to ask Jesus every day of Advent, how are you with me? God is with us. How are you with me? I just had that experience just tonight when I was all alone in church at St. Aloysius, and I had Mass today, and I received Holy Communion. And after I received the sacred host and the precious blood, the sense was, God is with me. So for me today, if I look at how was God with me, it was in the very communing with him in the Holy Eucharist. So today I can say God was with me, even though I was pretty much by myself the whole day. Even though I was by myself, I was not alone. And that's one of the greatest gifts of faith that we have to cultivate in our lives so that we never forget it. Emmanuel, God is with us. How is God with you? Ask him and wait for him to answer. So one way you can do that is by participating in Eucharistic adoration. And that's why this season of Advent, before every weekend Mass, we'll be having Eucharistic adoration. So come early to church, spend some time in silence, and ask him that question. And receive his very blessing before you receive him in Holy Communion. Emmanuel, God is with us. We are not alone. Do you realize how profound and how central that is in being followers of Jesus Christ? I hope we're given that deeper sense of that insight and that reality that Jesus calls us to. And may God bless you.